When we get to the end of it, then we will come back around if you have additional ideas based on things that you think of or things that you hear in the room. We've got organizations from the industry in the room. I see USGA over there. I see Pathways to Progression here, and I also see PGA Tour in the room. If I've missed anybody, I apologize. So let's get into it. I thought where we'd have the biggest impact. So for the first half of this, we're going to talk about ideas, how you impact young people from the ages of 9 to 13 years old. Okay, as we look at player development, you can't do it in a group, in an isolated box. We have to look at how we are developing our young people so that they're ready for the next stage. So I'm going to just open this up, and the question is very simple. I'd like to hear your ideas on how we should have an impact on young people ages 9 to 13. Raise your hand. Coop will see you, or I'll call you. Jenny. And remember, you have 2 minutes, and I'm the timekeeper. Okay, let's work with what we got, Jenny. We don't have a lot of time. Let's go. Okay. Who's next? Any other hands? Yes, sir.
Okay, thanks. I think the most valuable experience you can give these young folks is getting them out on the course, because if they're out on the course, 90% of the time they're going to be out on the course with other people, and the kids will react to each other. So you want to create that camaraderie and somewhat competitive environment for them. So it's not like they're just going out there to play. And the other part I would say is teach them the rules, so they understand it's a game, but it's also a destination too, and I think is more valuable than anything for
Okay.
these kids.
One other thing I should be mentioning, you're responsible for your notes. So take notes. If you hear something that you want to take back home with you that sounds good, take notes. And I would ask if you say something, please tell me where you're from and your program. Tracy?
Hi, I'm Tracy Raoul from Chicago, Illinois.
Go Bears.
Bear down. All right. Um, if there are after school programs in your district, start an after school golf program, especially for, as Jenny said, we started first grade. So we went from first to seventh. Eighth graders are a little bit more challenging because they've already passed that get interested in golf phase, but that's not to say you can't get them into the next age group, which I'll come back to, which is caddying. But after school programs for that age group, I think, is a great start. Get your people in the schools and teach them the basics using snag equipment, which I don't get money for, but it is an absolutely great way to teach these children how to play golf.
Okay. Let me call on a friend of mine, former colleague, Beth. USGA, what have you found as far as starting to develop players? I guess I should turn that around from player development to how do we develop players?
Yeah, thanks, Mark. Beth Brown, the USGA's U.S. National Development Program. You know, everything we're doing is for 13 and older, right? And
Well, we got another session on that part too.
I know. So, but just from my past lives, you know, I was just going to say in terms of the kids at that age is one is to, you know, make sure that you're creating that environment that's fun and that's different, right? for different groups. Like for the girls, it may be, again, I'm a little stereotyping here. I'm a girl, so I can do that. A little bit, so the social piece, right? That element. But then what is competition? What is that like? I heard that over there. And so, definitely for the younger kids, particularly guys, they're going to be looking for that competitive element. I would say the other big thing is, don't try to make the athlete fit the golf course, right? Make sure, and I heard snag, I heard other things, make sure you're adjusting the equipment and the space and all those things to make it where there can be those mini successes even for the youngsters.
So I'm going to pick on a couple of coach friends of mine that I know came up through junior golf. I'm going to ask Andy Walker and Sam Perrier, the younger you, what is it that you would have liked to have seen? And Roger, don't you go anywhere. What is it that you would have liked to have seen as a 9 to a 13, or as Jenny said, a 7 to a 13-year-old that would have helped you in that stage of your development?
I think growing up, I played my first tournament when I was 5, but I had mentors. I mean, Kendall sitting right here, her dad took me under at a young age, but it was having people that knew and had been there before, right? I think, guys, the George Floyd money is gone. Okay. This isn't a complaint. I appreciate you. I love you to death, Mark, but I'm about to go in for a second. We're doing this the wrong way. We have 50,000 little things trying to do and no one's getting anything done. And we don't need another junior tour. We don't need another professional tour. We need to win the ones that are there. We don't need a sponsor exemption. We need to have players good enough to qualify and get in those tournaments and win. So, yeah, this isn't a rah-rah, cheer, Andy deal, but guys, I was a junior All-American. I was a collegiate All-American. I won an NCAA championship. I played on the PGA Tour. I played on the Korn Ferry Tour. I earned every single one of those because I had a mentor. I had someone who had been there before, her dad, right? And then I worked with the best players. And guys, I was embarrassed listening to Gene Sarazen, Tommy Amore, don't know who Calvin Pete is. We don't know our history, guys. We don't know our history. So we did a program together and it was great. And players were getting really good. And then there was the lack of funding. Well, there's been funding. And everyone sit in this group and we talk player development and we talk all this different stuff. And it doesn't, it kind of goes a little bit, right? But there's less players now in the PGA Tour than there was in the 60s and 70s. That doesn't make sense, guys. So we've got to kind of scrap this whole thing with Beth and what they're doing with the U.S. team, right? They're not doing it in a very small way. They've run quick with this. I've raised my hand. I know the first time we talked about the player development, everyone just didn't like the guy I was doing it with. Let's just be real. The guy that was the head of that and doing the UGA stuff, everyone just didn't like him. So it kind of lost its footing. But I wasn't in it for him. I was in it for the players.
So Andy, let me just interrupt you for a second because I want to pick your brain on the little 9 to 13-year-old Andy Walker. What if you had to advise yourself in your development? What would you have looked for in developing you as a player at that particular stage of your career?
I'd play every tournament that you can. I think that obviously Beth knows her stuff. I didn't grow up with fit equipment. I played my dad's old Ram Bars, and I found a way to catch up and hit solid golf shots, right? And I think now kids are getting taught too much a little bit of the mechanics, and they're not learning how to play the game. And just like someone said, is get these kids with snag and stuff, get them interested in this game, having fun. And then you're going to start to see the players start to come up out of their 6 and 7, 8-year-olds that first of all love the game. That first of all, when I was 5 years old, the only thing I wanted to do was play at Pebble Beach, right? I wanted to play in that tour event. And so then when I get old enough and I'm there, right, it was because I had a dream. It wasn't, but I knew my history. I knew who Calvin was. I knew who Jim Thorpe was. I knew who Jim Dent was. I knew who Charlie Sifford was. I knew who Lee Elder was, right? And so we need to teach our past. We have a great past in this game. We don't have much of a present in this game.
Okay.
And if we don't have a present, we ain't gonna have a future.
Sam, same question. The 9 to 13-year-old Sam Perrier, what would you have liked to have seen, or what would you do again that helped you at that stage of your career?
Well, I think kind of like Andy said, so Andy referenced Kendall and her dad. Well, I'm going to go to her granddaddy. Her granddaddy was the pro at my course as a kid back in Carolina back in the 70s. So for me, it was just a joy. I always had the opportunity to go to the course. The old men at the course embraced me. Like Andy, you take a club and you learn how to hit it. It might be a 1 iron, one of those old Northwestern 1 irons. I mean, I'm older than Andy, but at the same time, you learn how to hit it and you start learning how to hit different shots with it. You take that 9 to 13-year-old kid, or like Jenny said, you take that 7 to 13-year-old kid and you put them at the golf course and you allow them to have fun. You put them on the range. Everything is not a teaching session, but there are instructional opportunities. But you have to learn how to fail on your own before you learn how to succeed. So now every kid is looking to only be successful. Well, go out and shoot 100, hooking a few balls until you learn how not to hook it. Then you learn how to play a fade.
Okay.
And I think for young kids, because I do think the best time to learn is 7 to 13, like Jenny said. I think that's right now what's missing. Because what's happening now, some of our kids are so athletic and so talented. If it's not fun, that they don't stick in it for the right reason. It's got to be fun, and it's got to be something that you love and that you want to do. Like for fun, my parents would say back in the day, "Hey, what do you want to go do today?" I just want to go to the golf course. And it was kind of like, "Hey, man, I'm gonna give you enough money for some Tahitian treats and some ham and cheese sandwich, and I stay out there all day."
Okay. All right.
To me, I think that's what's missing now. But we also worked at the course. I worked at the course. So the man would pay me, a couple dollars a day to go sweep cigarette butts and put the charges in the carts and fill up the batteries with water. But I did that just to play.
Okay.
And these kids today, they don't want to work. They don't want a job. It's too hot. Everything is specialized. They want the perfect situation.
Okay. Hold on, Andy. Let me just keep going. I want to get Roger because I've known Roger since he was a little bit older than 13, but not much. But Roger, I know your dad worked with you on a public golf facility. What would you say the 9 to 13-year-old Roger would want to know?
When I think about development in golf and when I hear the stories of a lot of accomplished golfers from a playing perspective, they were groomed in environments where there were a lot of really good players. They had ready access to good facilities and they had ready access to high level competition on a day in and day out basis. So they were competing against people at their clubs or people at their neighborhoods. And I really think that development is a responsibility of a community. I don't think that you can put a kid, by himself and just have him lean on himself or herself to get as good as they need to. I do think the competition is a good part of that. But when you compete and you don't have community to build you back up, bad results in competition get demoralizing. And so, it's really about how do you place kids in environments where they can develop as a group and they can come up together and condition each other and acclimate to high levels of performance simultaneously. A lot of these tour guys were just the best out of a group of kids that they came up with. And I think that if we're looking for people to make it to the next level, it's about who are we surrounding them with that challenge them and help them learn through osmosis. I think that, growing up in Chicago, the hard part was, obviously it's a seasonal market and the courses we had access to, there was no, abundance of talent. So I'm one of the best of the kids that I grew up around. And obviously, I've taken a different path and that's, boded well for me. But when kids want to play at a high level, if they don't have access to people that are playing at high levels, you don't even have anything to measure yourself against. So being the best, being the biggest fish in a small pond, I think that what we're seeing right now is that doesn't translate well to achieving at the highest level. And so if you really have interest in your kid 9 to 13 making it to the next level, you need to have them be around people that are making it to the next level, and they need to cut their teeth with those players, whether that's a different state, different course, work under a different coach. But if you don't have a real litmus test to see how they stack against people that are going to make it, you're not really giving them a fair shot. And the last thing I want to say, based on what Coach Sam said, is kids' aspirations are changing. The reality is, they don't want the same things out of life that you all wanted or even that I want. the things that they think are accessible to them. You know, they're constantly being manipulated by what's happening in the media, what's happening on these apps, what's happening on TV. And so they're not being, a lot of them, very real with themselves about what the possibilities are and what good life outcomes look like. And so along the way, golf has become a lot less attractive to the younger generations because they don't appreciate the quality of life that this game affords you, because they are being manipulated. So I do think that, you know, you can program, you could create tours, you could, you could give away stuff, but we have a demand problem at a high level with a lot of the kids that are coming up. And until we, figure out how to work together to create things that make the game of golf more appealing to those demographics, we won't have much traction.
Okay. Thank you. I've got a teaching professional over here I want to hear from, Anita. We're going to come back around because these are great. This is exactly what I wanted to have happen.
Can't run fast as I used to.
Come on,
bro.
Coop.
Hang
You
on.
got it, man.
Onita Castile. I work with the Women in Golf Foundation, and I'm LPGA professional, master professional, been teaching for 30 plus years. And with the juniors, I'm going to speak to the girls because we've had some great input from the guys about the guys, but girls are a little bit different. And with the LPGA, we do something called LPGA Girls Golf. And we do have boys as well, but we always like to make sure that the girls in particular, they need socialization. They like to be out there with their girlfriend and things like that. So we always make sure that we have put them in places where they feel that level of comfort. And what happens is, as we're teaching them the skills, because we do slip that in, the rules, pace of play, all those things are important. And then we start to see the cream rise to the top. And with the ones, when the cream rises to the top, then it is our duty to give them what they need, to meet them where they are, to get them involved in competitions so that they can raise the level of their play. All of them don't necessarily want that. But what we have seen over the years is when we keep being involved with them, as I said, trying to give them what they need when they need it, we end up with, I will say it's 100% of our kids have gotten college scholarships. And the girls and boys who want to compete are able to do that because we give them what they need when they need it, whether it is a higher level of coaching, helping enable them to get to be into tournaments that they need to keep improving, equipment, raising money for that. And so all of that comes down to, and one of the gentlemen said, community. It takes a community. You need to be involved with sororities and fraternities and your local churches, boys and girls clubs, because it can't be done by one small organization. So the kids need a whole lot more than you can give them at a small level. And again, it's meeting them where they are.
Okay. So let me interject just one thing from what we are trying to do. We try to provide not only financial support, but also support services. So do the young people have a sports psychologist that they can work with? We try to check that box. Are they properly fitted for equipment at their appropriate age? So a 9 to a 13 or 7 to 13-year-old kid, they're going to grow. Okay. They're going to get stronger. And so are they being fitted properly through that progression? Are they starting to do things to develop their body? So as I'm talking about this, there are certain things that they should be doing at their age that's important to help start to develop their strength. And then are they getting evaluated? All the things that have been said around the room. I'm going to come back to you, Sam, in a second, because I want to start the second portion of this. So now you've got your 9 to 13-year-old. There's a next stage, which is now junior high and high school. So 13 to 18-year-olds. Same question. I'll start with Sam.
Yeah, so imagine this, Mark. When you have a chance, from what Andy said, if you have a chance and you're watching, and I'm speaking for myself, I watched James Black hit shots. I watched Charlie Siflet's kid hit shots. I watched Althea Gibson hit shots. I watched Renee Powell hit shots. I'm talking about as a kid. And somebody said, I think Roger stated that if you're watching people who could cut their teeth against the best, for everybody I just named could do it. But that was my upbringing. So watching those shots allowed me to be able to practice and try to do that myself. And so what's missing now is that's the one part that's missing, because that part right there doesn't require sports psych, doesn't require strength training, doesn't require being fitted. And I think we have to get back to allowing our kids to see role models like they said, but at the same time, you just have to have the willingness and wanting it. So 13 to 17 years old or 18 years old, I mean, at that point, unfortunately, with the new rule changes in college, and I don't want to skip too far ahead, but if they're not good enough now by 15 or 16, they can wrap it up. Because what's going to happen now is being restricted with 9 players, if your university has bought into it, now those kids that have taken their time and the parents were slow to the ball in order to give those kids a chance, there are no spots for them now to play. And most parents now still thinking like they used to think, that there were full scholarships for every golfer in the program. Well, now if it's restrictive of 9 playing spots, and then if you're playing the SEC, it's 8 spots. So now where's your kid going to go? Because so now all of a sudden, your minority kid who thought he had a chance to do whatever he wanted to do, or she did what she wants to do to go to a minority school, now she can't, or he can't even do that, because now the majority kids and the foreign kids are saying, wait a minute, I can go there and play 1 or 2 years and then transfer. And now the brown kids they don't have anywhere to play. So
Okay. Go ahead, Andy.
You guys ready? So, no, I'm gonna tell you guys a story. So, I was 15 years old at what's now Waste Management, and it was just the Phoenix Open, and Jeff Donovan introduced me to Jim Thorpe, and so I got to walk with Jimmy when in the practice round, and Jimmy sent me after the round to go bend his wedge a half a degree. Right now, at this time, I was an AJG All American, but I'm thinking a half a degree. Come on, this guy's he's just being cool. Jim's a cool cat. So, I go bend it. Jeff bends it. I take it back to him. He hits it. And you know how Jimmy said, that's it right there, baby. Right. So my whole life, I'm talking to Jeff going, what were we doing? A half a degree? Does that really matter? And then fast forward 10 years later, and I'm playing on tour. And I'm like, Jeff, I need you to go bend my club a half a degree. Right. But what that meant to me as a kid, just like he's talking about, we had mentors that looked like us. Okay, I know a lot of people got into the game because of Tiger. Guys, Tiger don't care about y'all. Sorry. Might hurt to hear it. He hasn't done anything to reach back. He could have done the most. Okay? And so the thing is, they need people that have been out there. They need to be around the stuff that we're doing, guys. I'm raising my hand that I will help develop these players. I just got back from the Latin American Amateur Championship, right? All Latin kids. They have Latin coaches. The Masters is funding that. The USGA is funding. They're getting funded to develop these players, and they're not getting developed by chops. They're not getting developed by people that didn't even understand the history of this game that was up there talking. That's embarrassing. I walked in there, I was embarrassed. Not just as a golfer, as a black golfer, I was embarrassed to hear the stuff I heard up there, right? Send them to us. Let us develop them. Do you know why Jeff took care of me? We had to force giving money to her dad, to Jeff Donovan when I was young to teach me. He did it because he loved me. He had more stake in the game. Okay? He had more stake in the game. Right? These guys, he took us around those players. We were around those players like he was talking about. Not everyone gets, Calvin Pete and Jim Thorpe and those guys didn't grow up in Phoenix playing in Cano Park. Right? They made a pathway for us to be around those players. And those was our inspiration. So when I saw Thorpe, when I saw Calvin Pete, when I saw those guys, Jim Dent doing it, I had someone to look up to that looked like me. That goes to the places that I go to, that listens to the same music I listen to.
Okay.
Right. And those are the things that help us inspire, guys. I'm telling you, Charlie Sifford is putting together, Charlie Sifford Jr., an academy. They asked me to help develop these players. I got the guy who just won the Live promotion thing last week. I got 3 guys that won on PGA Tour last year. Got guys on the Corn Ferry. Got guys that won in Japan. I got top 100 Wagger guys on my college team. God, who are you going to trust with your kids?
Okay.
Hmm?
We get it. Hold on, Andy.
How you doing? My name's Richard. I'm a manager at Sugar Creek Golf and Tennis Center. I've been managing golf courses for a little over 20 years,
Cool.
a little over 20 years now. And I listen to everybody talk. Like I say, I came into the game a little late at 19 and ended up getting a golf scholarship and playing golf. But uh, Sugar Creek, I've managed Mystery Valley and Sugar Creek in Atlanta, Georgia. And I have 5 high schools that come to Sugar Creek and 5 high schools that come to Mystery Valley. And they're all minority golfers. And I watch these kids that don't really get the good instruction, don't have the means to get good instruction. And but then I have another high school that comes over, which is a Decatur High School, which is basically all white, and they're structured. They come in, they're very disciplined. They do what they're supposed to do, and they're good golfers, really good golfers. And, I look at these programs and I try to talk to my instructors about uh, that instructs at my golf course. You know that we got to get these kids really started at a very young age, and we got to build them up and keep them going. I mean, we had a PGA Junior League that made it to the semifinals one year, and then I left, came back, and all the kids were going somewhere else. They were going to basically white instructors, and the other country clubs basically grabbed the good kids and took them away from Sugar Creek and Mystery Valley. So we got to really keep that community together, because I can see when one of our kids do get really good or do get great, they tend to move on away from us. And that leaves us, trying to find someone else. So
Okay.
I'm just saying that we got to grab them at a young age, and we got to keep them, because they do spread out and get missing and then tend to leave the game.
Okay. I want to go on this side of the room again because Beth, this is in your bailiwick, this age group.
Gone. Oh yeah, it is. Sorry. Thanks again, Beth Brown, for those just walking in, and thanks, Mark. It's really wonderful to hear all the comments, and I'm probably going to be repeating or kind of reframing some of the things, but I just was in my mind putting it into 3 main things. I think for these kids are getting older, elite performers. One is holistic approach. You all know that. And I think it's important though for us to not just talk the talk, but walk the walk. So if health, if physical training, if building healthy relationships, being able to communicate with your coach, right? Take ownership in your game. All of these things beyond the technical and tactical become super important. So let's walk the walk, not just talk the talk on holistic health. The other thing, and I've heard it alluded to, is the idea of community, all these things. At this elite level, what we know is that we're training to compete with rather than to compete against. And so we have these elite performers who are now making each other better, especially the girls. I think the guys, from what I've seen, do a better job with it, but the girls can make each other better. Now they're at this point competing with, we have girls competing at the national level that they want those girls to come and beat them so they can learn and get better. And I'm going to get you next time, right? And then lastly, this ties together this long-term perspective, right? Like making decisions today for these young people. If we want to keep them in the game, if we want to keep them where they're improving and have a long game, have the long-term perspective, we've got to make some decisions sometimes looking at the long term. It's not just about, and I think it's hard, we get them and we have them at a certain point and we want them to be the very best they can right then. And sometimes that means making decisions programmatically or whatever you're doing for their long-term sustainable health in the game, right? For them to not get burned out, for them to not have injuries. Because what we do know, if we think about it, what do we keep doing? We keep doing things that we're passionate and that we enjoy. So if we can do that for the kids through that holistic development, right, through this competing with mentality and through taking a long-term or a long game perspective, I think then we're really creating an environment for all these athletes to become the best they can be.
Thanks, Beth. Another session that's about to start. Let me just wrap this one up quickly. You've heard some ideas. Hopefully you took some notes. You heard 1 or 2 ideas that are appealing to you. You gotta go. There are a lot of people in this room, and what I would say is meet some of the people in this room and some of the ones that you heard from, or reach out to them via email, by social media, and continue to share those ideas. One of the things I would like to ask everyone in this room, if you have not please make a donation to one of these grassroots programs. We need your support. If we support ourselves, that allows us to use those dollars to leverage and go raise more money. We can't help a lot of kids if we don't have the funding. Golf is still an expensive game. And some of the ideas that have come up about camps, about coaches, about instruction, about tournaments, it costs money. We need your support. Everyone who's a grassroots program, raise your hand, please. Everybody with their hands up needs your support. We need you to tell your friends to support us. Find any program. And if you just gave $10 a month, $120 a year to a program, you could make a huge impact on that program. And you get a friend to do that. How many people in here had a drink last night? Alcohol or non-alcohol? How many people had a drink last night? I guarantee you paid at least $8 for it. Okay? Just think if you invested that drink in a young person. If everybody in this room tells one who tells one, and they invest that in a young person, we can make a big difference. Some of these conversations we had today, some of these recommendations that came out, next year would be different. We could talk about different things. Andy talked about an academy. We could make that happen. Okay? We're talking about sending kids to tournaments. We could make that happen. Okay? I sign off on all of our players' entry fees. Believe it or not, our 9-year-olds are paying $150 or more to play in tournaments. Local tournaments. We're not even talking about travel. Okay? Those that are playing in prestigious tournaments are paying anywhere from $250 to $400. Okay? We and their parents are raising that money to help them get to all the ideas we talked about today. They don't just happen in happenstance. So we need your support. We need your ideas. Reach out to the grassroots organizations. They're all over social media. I hear 1,000 complaints, but I never see somebody say, hey, call me because I can do this. Call me because I can help you with this. Call me because I know somebody who knows somebody who can help you with this. We need your support. We appreciate your support. Those of you who have supported grassroots programs, Make Golf Your Thing has been a big supporter, but we need more than that. We need everyone in this room to tell somebody to tell somebody. So with that, thank you all. I know we were close on time. You can't solve player development in 1 hour, but we can start the conversation. Hopefully you got some ideas that you can take home with you. Thank you again for coming out.